A phoenix is a mythical creature that rises from the ashes. This creature's metamorphosis is akin to that of the Italian Serie A league leaders AC Milan, one of the most successful clubs in European football. For years, we've witnessed this great institution suffer one setback after another. After seeing two of their best players, of course, we're talking about Zlatan Ibrahimovic and Thiago Silva, leave the San Siro to head over to join the French Revolution at Paris Saint-Germain, all those years ago, the Rossoneri started experiencing something their fans would have never imagined. The same team that was making a mockery of the best Italian and European football had on offer was now struggling to even register regular wins over teams they were always meant to beat. A lot of players arrived and were let go, and a fair few managers were given the task to make Milan great again, but to no avail. In the midst of all this, there were always new owners coming and trying to restart a new project. There was not a single modicum of consistency at which the club was being run. Very soon, Milan had become a team that would even struggle to finish inside the top 6th, let alone fight for the Scudetto. While Juventus went from strength to strength and became an all-conquering side, Milan became the laughingstock of Italian football and remained so for a long time, until the club made a decision. Paolo Maldini, a man who's won everything that club and international football has on offer, decided to bring in Stefano Pioli. The veteran tactician was brought over to the San Siro in order to steady the ship that was unable to perform at its best under the guidance of Marco Giampaolo. Pioli was initially seen as a stopgap fix, a man who would just do barely enough and keep the managerial seat warm for Ralf Rangnick. Indeed, we did hear a lot about in-house division, with media outlets reporting that the club's ownership, led by Ivan Gazidis, were already speaking to the Red Bull sporting director without Maldini or Zvonimir Boban having any knowledge about it. The latter ended up criticising the club hierarchy in public and lost his job. We all thought that Milan would behave exactly how they have in recent memory, crumble once again and say arrivederci to yet another manager. However, despite all this, the team started doing very well. In January 2020, Ibrahimovic returned to the club, and the Swede's arrival coincided with a sharp uptick of form. Milan were grinding out results and climbing places, and eventually they finished the 19-20 season in 5th. During the summer transfer window, some astute signings were made, including that of Italian wunderkind Sandro Tonali and a loan move for Brahim Diaz from Real Madrid. It was clear that despite an inspiring run during the second half of the campaign, Milan were still not there. The likes of Atalanta and Napoli were still flying high, and Lazio also had more stability as a whole. The 2020 Milan registered comfortable wins in the first 3 games of the campaign. The fact that those wins came against one team that was down to 10 men and 2 teams that had only just returned to the Serie A meant that no one really gave the team much credit. However, wins over Internazionale and Napoli suddenly saw people start talking about Milan as potential title contenders. In one of the toughest tests to date, Milan were able to register a 3-2 win over Lazio. Pioli's men are set to face Juventus after a game against Benevento, and the game against Andrea Pirlo's men is definitely going to tell us more about this team's ability to sustain a serious title challenge. As things stand, however, Milan are the only team in the top 5 leagues in Europe that's yet to lose a game. They lead the Serie A standings and are 10 points ahead of reigning champions Juventus. However, Inter Milan are definitely closing down on them, with Antonio Conte's side trailing their neighbours by a solitary point. The Italian Serie A is proving to be wide open this year. Juventus are in a period of transition, and it remains to be seen if Pirlo has the credentials to guide the old lady to yet another Scudetto. Pirlo is clearly struggling and doesn't know his best 11 either. Elsewhere, Antonio Conte's Inter were expected to be leading the charge, but the Nerazzurri have also made a slow start to the campaign. However, they've started putting together a run of good results and are going to be there and about every time there's a discussion about title credentials. Napoli have been doing fairly well, but unfortunately their manager, Gennaro Gattuso, has been diagnosed with autoimmune disease. We wish the AC Milan legend a speedy recovery, but that will have an impact on the club's performances in 2021. Atalanta, on the other hand, are struggling with consistency this season. The issues between manager Gianpaolo Gasperini and star midfielder Papu Gomez threaten to derail La Dea's season. This has given AC Milan a great chance under an unfancied coach and a precocious group of starlets. From being seen as a short-term solution, Pioli is now seen as a shrewd decision made by the board. The Italian has shown a great aptitude when it comes to working with young players. During his time at Fiorentina, he did the same and was able to guide his team through a very tragic and psychologically draining period after the passing of club captain David Astori in 2018.
Io sono sicuro che Davide in questo momento è contento di sapere che io sono qui.
Pioli has built an emotional connection with his team and the squad trusts him. In Zlatan, he has a true leader on the field. The Swede might not be the easiest person to deal with, but it's clear that he enjoys working with the Milan coach. Pioli's fatherly approach towards the young players has done wonders, with Sandro Tonali in particular doing very well whenever he's called upon. The youngster was slowly introduced to the Milan setup and is still competing with the likes of Franck Kessie and Ismail Benacer for a place in the starting 11. Pioli is our team leader, Tonali said. He's the first person who's showing us the right path. We are all following him together. You can spend hours talking to him. He can explain everything to you. He's open with us and we are happy to have such a coach. When you play like this, it's a birth more than a rebirth. A Milan like this hasn't been seen for a long time. Honestly speaking, we've not seen Milan be like this for an incredibly long time. It must feel like a lifetime to some of the club's supporters. The last time they won the Scudetto was back in 2011, and after a decade of utter mediocrity, Milan are slowly climbing their way up to the top. Pioli has assembled a group of driven, hungry and hard-working individuals to truly understand what it means to play for this great club. While initially it did appear that without Zlatan the club would struggle for results, that's also changing. The big Swede has suffered from injuries and the virus this season, but in his absence the team has managed to get the right results. There is a sense of togetherness and camaraderie among this group of players. The careers of the likes of Franck Kessie, Ante Rebic, Hakan Çalhanoğlu, Ismail Benacer and David Calabria were going nowhere before Pioli arrived. Now these players are performing like champions. Gianluigi Donnarumma and Theo Hernandez, on the other hand, just keep getting better with age and are going to become even better as the years go by. We've definitely not seen such a consistent and reliable Milan side in years. There is just the right amount of youthful exuberance and experience in this side. The players are playing with pride and Pioli himself knows what an honour it is to represent Milan. When Pioli was forced into isolation, it did not have an impact on the team's performances. They fought on for their leader and made it a priority to showcase their love for him at the final whistle. You can see from the heartwarming videos made by Tonali, Kessie and Donnarumma how much their boss means to them. Simply put, Milan's journey so far this season has been amazing to watch. In a year that's taken so much away from the game and the fans, watching Milan do everything they possibly can to get back to the top sheds light on the best things this game has to offer. For many years, we've seen Juventus dominate the Serie A unopposed. There were times when AS Roma threatened their status, but they faded away. For a few years, Napoli became the team who everyone looks towards in order to end the Turin club's dominance, and it never happened. Juventus always seemed to find a way to become champions again and again and again. It's definitely a scary sight that one club makes a mockery of its competition. Based on Juve's exploits, Serie A's reputation had suffered as well. Who would want to watch a league where the conclusion is always a foregone one? This time around though, there's a sense of excitement in the league. Juventus are in 6th place in the league standings, while the likes of Inter, Roma, Sassuolo and Napoli are in the mix. Of course, we're not saying that Juventus are not going to mount a comeback or something. They have all the talent in the world to make it hard for any team in Italy to snatch their title away from them. It's not going to be an easy task. Juve are accustomed to winning the league and they're definitely going to move heaven and earth to retain the Scudetto. This is why Milan's match against the reigning champs is going to be one of the most anticipated games of the season. We dare say that this could be the most important result for Italian football in general. If Milan are able to down Pirlo's men, then they would solidify their title credentials. A win could also bring Juventus's dominance to an end. Of course, there are the likes of Inter Milan and Napoli who would also be fancying their chances. The next 2 months will see Milan compete with the best of the Serie A. Pass all these tests and the Rossoneri could finally rise from the ashes and flutter its wings atop the San Siro.